Hey guys, Comet here. Welcome back to Oxygen Not Included. In the last episode, I started the Rocketry program. So I got in steam and petroleum rockets. I don't need steam rockets anymore. I'm completely on petroleum, and then I just went ahead and doubled it on both sides. There's been a little bit of work between episodes. I've gotten some more of the map cleared out here. And I've also taken full advantage of that diggable neutronium mod. I've cleaned up the left edge all the way down to the bottom. Ooh, I think I'm getting a leak here somewhere. And I've also gotten the neutronium cleaned up on this edge here, minus the cold biome. I've also captured all of the CO2 outputs into this box here. These carbon skimmers are just cleaning up any remaining CO2, so like this one's all boxed up, it's being piped over into here. Ideally, I would send it over to the slicksters, but pressure in here is still above 700 kilos, so I can't really vent anything into there yet. I'm hoping to solve my large quantities of water by splitting it up into oxygen and hydrogen and using it for rocket fuel. So this episode is going to be all about hydrogen rockets. Now, in order to make liquid oxygen and hydrogen, I need some supercoolant to actually get a liquid down cold enough. And to do that, I will need some fullerene. That is the only way to make supercoolant. Fullerene plus gold and petroleum makes supercoolant. I don't have any fullerene here. I have to go to this planetoid. This has a little bit of fullerene here. But I got this cargo rocket set up at the very end of the last episode. And between episodes, I've actually gotten the pilots all leveled up, so we can just send Gosman here out to that first planetoid to bring back some fullerene. I think I'll also get maybe Steve over into this rocket. And I'll send this one out to research. Let's see. So I know the two items here. I don't know these yet. So I'll send Steve out to this oily asteroid. This rocket is named Old Prototype. It's on the star map. Old Prototype. It's gonna go here. And I'll launch them simultaneously just for the view. So you can launch, and you can launch. Then when I unpause, it should be simultaneous here. Oh, it's beautiful. Well, while they're out doing their thing, I looked back at my old video on how I did the heat spikes down here at the bottom of the rockets, and I realized I actually had a lot more space to work with. Now, I need to plan out a little bit of the regolith melter in order to know where exactly I can fit all of the liquid fuel production. And I realized I don't have quite enough space down here. So what I'm actually going to do is move this whole top layer down one. So it'll all be at this height instead. I do run into a little bit of a problem here. I need to drop this steam turbine down one, otherwise I'm going to have this permanent bump right here. Now the reason I need this extra space, I want to put in like a giant heat capturing thing right here. So there's like a 9x3 area here, where the rocket produces a whole bunch of heat on whatever tile is there. So really, I could come down to there, and now duplicates can't get through that. And I'll put another one over on this side. And then in the middle, I'll have a whole bunch of steam. And this will act as a giant heat buffer that I could actively heat by rockets or even metal refining, that I can use for melting regolith. And by putting everything here, it doesn't leave much space for the actual melting component, so that's what I need this space down here for. While they're getting this new layer built, I can come up to here and plan out how I want to do all of the liquid fuels. So I'll come out one tile away from these here so I can put in a ladder. I think keeping it flush with the bottom of the rocket silo would look the best. So I'm just going to put in a spawn here. And at this point, I'm just going to make everything out of steel. There's no reason not to. So this is the spawn. This up here will be the 2 holding tanks for the liquid fuels. And then this will be where the steam turbines go. One here and one here. Now I'll need to maintain 3 separate cooling loops. One for the oxygen, one for the steam turbines, and then one for the hydrogen. So I'll use 3 aqua tuners so I can control all of their temperatures individually. And to get the gases in, I'll have hydrogen go over this way, and then all of the oxygen. Let's see, I can do bridge here, and have it go up into there. This one can go over like this into there, and then this one just up through there is fine. I don't want this flowing all of the time. These need to be controlled by some shutoffs. So I'll need to detect the level of the liquid fuel and send that information back down to here. So once these tanks fill up, I'll go ahead and shut it off here. Now I can't... It's tempting to put the automation on the vents up here, but then I would have gas stuck in this section of piping, where it could potentially condense in the pipe and break the pipe. Oh, look at that. Rocket has returned. Got a little bit of fullerene coming in now. That means I need the emulsifier. Let's get this down over here in the center of the base. Who is suffocating? Why? Oh, you... God. No! Get air, go get air. Every time, I swear, they try to kill themselves. As I was saying, get the emulsifier here. Get that powered up. I want to make some super coolant forever. I think I'll just use a bottle drainer to get the petroleum in. And then I'll go up into a reservoir, and then into a bottle filler. I'll get in a whole bunch of backing tiles here. I want all of this to be very thermally stable. So the center aqua tuner will cool off. The turbines up here. So I'll get in a conduction panel. There and there. Come down here, into there, across the bypass, and then back up. So, sensor there, through a filter gate into the aqua tuner, and then the piping up here can just be regular piping. It doesn't need to be insulated, but when I go back into the ceramic, I will insulate it. And then I need a little bit of space right here, just for a buffer. Okay. I want to drop down the output from this turbine. That's not quite convenient now, is it? I could come through here and then just rotate this. So that could go into there, and that one could go into there. And I'll just have two vents right here to keep things symmetrical. The routing on the cooling for the liquid fuel, I need to use insulated all through here. And then I think I'll just switch over to aluminum. Do a bit of a zigzag pattern. Something like that should work. That then begs the question, where do I put in the buffer? I could put it in at the bottom here. Yeah, I think I'll put one here for that side, and then one here for that side. It's gonna go into there, and then over to there. So I don't need that piping there. It should just be a matter of mirroring that on the other side. Alright, I like that. Because I can still fit a thermosensor there and a thermosensor there. With proper filter gates here. Then to get the liquids out, I do still need a pump in here. So maybe right here and right here. Then I'll have a bridge here and here. So this will be liquid hydrogen, this will be liquid oxygen. And to keep the pipes from breaking, I'm gonna have them constantly circulating. So I'll need a spot up here where I can dump the circulated fuel back out. So right here and right here would be a really good spot. It avoids the cooling loop. But then I'm doing the detecting up here. I think I need to move that hydrosensor down a little bit to this level. That way I can never overfill and plug up this vent. Now with this SPOM setup here, I will always be producing more oxygen than hydrogen, but in the rockets, I will be consuming equal parts. So I need some way of getting that excess oxygen just out of the system, and the easiest way to do that is just to vent it right here. The only time I want these vents here to be open is if there is not enough hydrogen. So if this signal from this hydrosensor is green, that'll turn on this valve, and then also turn on these vents here. So I'll continue this automation wire into there, there, and there. Then if hydrogen can't get out because this is plugged, and oxygen can't get out because these vents are plugged, then these electrolyzers will just back up and they won't consume any more water. So it should be a self-regulating system now. Now I need one more piece of automation, and I don't want these pumps here to run if I don't have a sufficient buffer of fuel in this tank. So right above here, I put in a way of controlling these. That way I guarantee I'm pumping full packets and not a bunch of tiny little packets. The smaller the packet is, the higher the chance it has of breaking the pipe when it goes through the loop. Alright, now all I need to do is get these cooling loops filled up with some super coolant. And I think the easiest way of doing that is just with a bottle drainer right here and here. How much super coolant have I made so far? Let's see. I have 200 kilos. That is definitely not enough. Okay, we need to send this cargo rocket back out. Bring back some more fullerene. Has this planet replenished yet? So the current mass is the maximum mass, so I'm assuming it's okay. It can't get any more full than it is right now. So I'll get Gosman back in here. Looks like this is all loaded up with petroleum and oxalate. I think I'll start with the oxygen here on the left. Get this loaded up with some supercoolant for now. Oxygen's a little bit easier because its temperature range is a lot more forgiving. So if I get it down below -183, it'll turn into a liquid. But if I go too far, to 218, it'll turn into a solid. That's quite a wide temperature range. It's like almost 40 degrees. Hydrogen, not quite as forgiving. There's only a 7-degree difference between these. Now the aquatuner can pull a 14-degree difference. So you've got to be a little careful there. And I don't actually want you to turn on yet. I need to get some steam into this room first. Now I need to be careful here. These are starting to turn on now. The water's coming in. I don't want any oxygen ending up here. So I'm going to put in a temporary vent here. And I'm going to disable that shutoff. I want to force all of it out first until it's purely oxygen on this side and purely hydrogen on this side. Oh, got some water up here now. So this, if it's ever above 200, no, -200, start cooling off the oxygen. But this loop looks full now, so I don't need this anymore. I can start bringing in some supercoolant over to this side. And I think this has just reached stability here. Yeah, so it's just hydrogen on top, just oxygen on the bottom, and oh, god damn it. Nothing ever works the first time. Okay, hydrogen's gone. Let's get that sealed back up. How far away am I from actually using the... not very. Are we out of databanks? Don't have any more databanks. Okay, I need to send the researching rocket out again. A little low on oxalate, though. I might need to make some synthetic oxalate here. So right here, next to this pipe that I already have for oxygen set up, I put in an oxalate refinery. Just to get this last launch going. And then I can switch entirely over to liquid oxygen as the oxidizer. And I could even keep using the petroleum as the main fuel source and wait for the hydrogen to fill up. Starting to get the littlest bit of liquid oxygen here. Looks like the rocket is returning with some more fullerene. Easily get the hydrogen going after the next batch of super coolant. And then I also need to get some cooling into these turbines here. I'll probably just use super coolant for that as well. Now that I have access to it, no reason not to. So I could get in a drainer right there to fill up that loop. But this rocket's all loaded up now, so let's get Steve back in here. I need those last few databanks to switch over these oxidizer tanks to liquid instead of solid. So let's send Steve back to... Let's see, so I haven't quite researched everything here. Oh, it's because I'm only bringing 2 research modules, right. Okay, yeah, we need to send him back out here to discover these materials. This loop appears to be full. So if the hydrogen is ever above negative 250... Let's see, is that close enough? Uh, 253. Let's try 253. So I shouldn't need this vent anymore. Redirect all the hydrogen into this tank now. Now I could also supplement this hydrogen a little bit with some extra hydrogen from down here. Because when I move this ceramic down a layer, I'm just going to lose all this gas here. So I'll take advantage of it a little bit. I do need to put in a filter, though. I don't want to chance that. So anything that is not hydrogen, I can just put down here, where it's safe. A little bit of liquid hydrogen now. Excellent. I don't want to see any solid pieces. That would be bad. I'm going to try ticking this up, or, well, down 1 more degree. Got quite a bit of pressure stuck in here still. And the oxygen's going great. Hydrogen's a little slow. Oh, and it looks like Steve is returning now. Let's see if this gives me enough databanks. It is 120. I need... Oh, that is a very expensive research. I might need to send this out again. We'll see how close Rowan gets. I don't think it's an exact 1-to-1 conversion. It might be. Data bank, 1 unit per research point. Okay, yeah, so it is a 1-to-1 conversion. So those 120 databanks I brought back is only going to get me up to about 400. Okay. Now, I prematurely converted all of this piping over. Let's turn this back off. Got to give petroleum access to these tanks again. Now, I don't actually need the oxalate to be stuck in this tank here. I'm going to prep this for all of the liquid fuels instead. Then over on the other side, where I haven't messed with the piping yet, I can get Gosman into this one instead, and have 2 research rockets going at the same time. So Steve here, we're going to send you... Okay, so we found all of the material here. The only thing we haven't studied is the subsurface. I don't really care about that. Let's send him to this one instead. Figure out what these question marks are. Now, Gosman, Steve can research this one. Gosman I'm going to send to this rocky asteroid here to figure out what these two are. I suppose I could get a third rocket going here. Swap this one over to be a research rocket as well. Maybe get Ada in here. So, Interstellar Rocket 1, you can go to the satellite here. Alright, so that's 3 rockets I have out in space. They bring back 120 databanks because of the 2 research modules. 3 times 120 is 360. 377 plus 360 is just shy of 800. Okay, so I will need to send out one more, whichever one returns first. I think it's going to be Steve. Yeah, he's 90% of the way done already. Speaking of which, here he comes right now. Space mission complete. So that's another 120 databanks. Need to send you out one more time. Let's see, did that reveal... I revealed Abyssalite. I still don't know what that last one is. So we're going to send you out one more time here. I need you to research that last piece of material there for me. Maybe while I wait for all of these pilots to return, I do a little digging. I do eventually want to excavate the entire map. I'll make a little bit of progress here on the right side, just to keep my dupes busy. I have all those laborers just not doing anything at the moment. So I'll take out this big chunk here. Space mission complete. Here comes Gosman. It's another 120 databanks. Here comes Steve with a few more data packs. And here comes Ada with the final set of databanks here. Alright, so that should get me through cryofuel combustion. Now there is this data science thing here, part of the bionic booster pack. This looks really interesting. So instead of going to space, I could have used this data miner. The problem is that in order to function at high enough efficiency to be worth it, it has to be really, really cold. So you kind of need supercoolant in the first place to use it, but to get supercoolant, you have to have interstellar research. So it's kind of like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? But the rest of this stuff looks pretty cool. The remote worker dock deploys automatons that operate machinery based on instructions received from a connected remote controller. And the remote controller here enables duplicants to operate machinery remotely via connected remote worker dock. So rather than having my duplicants travel from the housing unit to wherever it is they need to work, like say in the manufacturing hub, I could just have a whole bunch of stations in the housing unit where they could go plug in and then remotely control the robots over here. So that might be something worth looking into in the next episode, just to cut down on this long commute problem. Because dealing with such a large map, stuff gets done very, very slowly. Ah, excellent. I can now build these. So I'll get in the first hydrogen engine. and the first liquid oxidizer tank. Now the liquid fuel tank, that stays the same. There's no special upgrade for those. That means I don't need any of these anymore. I can switch everything over to hydrogen. Don't need these either. Actually, I'll keep the left side on petroleum for now, because I don't have the second liquid fuel station set up. But this side will be completely converted over to hydrogen. So the way it'll flow, it'll come out of the pump here into that tank, and then just zigzag through all of these tanks before returning back to the cold room. That'll keep a constant flow so that the pipes don't break. And that also means now that I don't have to have all of these gantries, because the only place a duplicate needs to have access is the command capsule. Which means I don't even need this power junction or these doors. So the way I'm actually going to power this top gantry is just with that wire there. Now, if both rockets happen to return at the exact same time, yes, I will overload the wire, but the chances of that happening is so low, I think I'll be okay with just powering it off of the one wire. Because these are permanent, there's no future upgrades, duplicates never have to come back in here to alter anything. Which means I should never need gantries in the future. So I actually don't even need this center wire here up the ladder, so all of that can get out of the way. And instead of coming up through the center here, I think I'll have them come in through the side. That way, I can start taking advantage of the heat from all of these rockets. Now, I will want the option of either heating this up with some metal refining, or potentially taking some heat away from this. So I'm gonna get in some piping right now, just in anticipation of that. And this is gonna be made out of tungsten. This has the highest melting point in the game at 3421. So I don't ever expect this to be getting anywhere near that. Once I get everything filled in, putting this piping in later will get a little messy. So I'm gonna do it now. Then on the inside, I'm gonna fill this up with shift plates and a bunch of steam. But I don't have enough diamond for that yet, so I'm gonna have to take a few more trips to the carbon asteroids here. Maybe get that done between episodes. And this will just act as a giant heat buffer for anything I need heat for. Its main purpose will be to melt any regolith that I collect from the sky. But if there's anything else that needs heating throughout the base, I could always just run some fluid through here and take a little bit of heat. And this is reserved only for things that need to be superheated. Alright, should we test out our first hydrogen rocket here? I think we should. So I've assigned Gene. All Neptune here needs to go to the carbon asteroid to pick up some diamond. This one is 31%. This one is 36%. Do I want to bring back niobium? I guess both have niobium. I do need fullerene still. Alright, we'll go to this one. Let's see if this gets buried like the others do. It does say launch path blocked. Will it let me launch anyway? Nope. Okay. That means I will need to have a robo-miner here. Not made out of steel, made out of thermium, but I'll get into thermium in the next episode. That way I don't have to keep sending a dupe back in here. My only concern is how to cool this thing. Because when this rocket takes off, all of these bunker tiles are going to heat up to almost 1,000 degrees. And I think even if this is made out of thermium, it might still just be hot enough to break it. Okay, last little bit of Regulus has been cleared out there. Make sure Stinky leaves. Now let's go ahead and launch you. Let's check how hot this gets here. That got up to 400. Yeah, that's way over 1,000. Oh my god. Might not want to go back in there yet, buddy. So that's about as far as I can go for now. I need to take a lot of trips to bring back enough diamond for this. This will slowly heat up eventually. Once I get enough diamond, I'll go ahead and fill up the center here with water. And this will just be like a universal heat plate for any heating I need. Now, there's a lot of little things that I still need to get done. Mainly cleaning up the bottom of the map. I also want to get these natural gas generators into a permanent power plant. That way their water isn't spilling all over the ground. Then I'm sequestering all of their outputs. CO2 is already going into this box, but the water I'm just letting it go everywhere. Don't quite like that. I need to get in a permanent battery box for the right side of the map, and then move these batteries and get a permanent one for the left side. I still need to drop down this layer all across the top here. And then between episodes, I'll definitely go ahead and take this, mirror it, and put it over on this side and get these rockets swapped over to hydrogen instead of petroleum. But I'll go over the overlays here one more time. So this is the plumbing overlay. Clean water comes into the bottom spawn here. It's an oxygen cooling loop, hydrogen cooling loop. And then up at the top, there's a turbine cooling loop. Here is the ventilation overlay. Really straightforward. Oxygen goes to the left, hydrogen goes to the right. And then the automation. These liquid pumps here at the bottom are just controlled by these hydrosensors, so that when there is enough fuel, they can go ahead and turn on. Then the incoming gas is controlled by these two hydrosensors here. The oxygen has enough in the tank, so this is red, which stops these shutoffs here, which then redirects the oxygen into these vents here, which just goes out into space. And those vents are controlled from the hydrogen side, along with this shutoff here. That way, once I get enough hydrogen, I don't keep producing extra oxygen. The oxygen control here is set to -210, and the hydrogen is set to -253. Then on the steam turbines here, this thermosensor, as long as it's below 100, it'll be fine. I just have mine set to 25. Now, I could make this more complicated and put in some more shutoffs here for different hydrogen inputs. So instead of just having the one pipe for this pump, I could have another pipe for the output from this spawn. That's a really good source of hydrogen. And I could, in the future, take some hydrogen from this vent and from this vent. But for now, this is enough just to get me started on hydrogen rockets. And this is actually enough to get me to the temporal tear, too. I might do that and the monument in the next episode. Just knock out both of those achievements. But I accomplished my main goal of getting liquid oxygen and hydrogen, so I think that's going to be it for this episode. I hope you learned something. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.